Okay, so the lines on the following order. You will share that Edward is, on YouTube, but it's not here on YouTube. We have Joe Renfield, Mike Kirby, Doc Edward on YouTube. So, makes the citizens be heard. If there's anyone in the audience or on YouTube who would like to say something about something. We're having trouble with people hearing us. How about now? Can people on YouTube hear us in the chambers?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. Sorry about that. Are there any disclosures that commission members would like to make?
I'll start off. I during my campaign received money from Red Tail Aviation.
I'd like to say a new one there. My son is now an employee for Red Tail Air, or their marketing team over here.
Okay.
Very soon.
Okay.
And I received during my campaign a donation from Red Tail Aviation as well.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So I know that a few of us are hoping to attend another meeting that starts at 2, but hopefully we'll be able to finish in much less than an hour. So first agenda item is the independent contractor agreement with Better Destinations LLC for an economic development strategic plan. August Granite.
Thank you. I'll just read the first sentence of the agenda summary so that that's in the public eye for this piece here. So our department, the Grant County Economic Development Department, published a request for proposals on April 14th, 2023 for firms from 4 firms able to support the development of a 2024 to 2029 holistic asset-based community economic development strategic plan that incorporates sustainable tourism, economic diversification, and drives actionable programs to support all local businesses, workforce, and investments. As discussed the last meeting, we went through that process, and the selection committee nominated Better Destinations LLC with subcontractors Nichols Tourism Group and RRC Associates. Mitch Nichols from the Nichols Tourism Group is online if there are any other questions, but not necessarily planning to make a presentation or has anything prepared. But he's here.
Yeah, so we did discuss this a bit at the previous meeting. So is there anything new and different that we?
Stephen, you want to talk about the contract change?
There's not a contract change. They have a requirement to sign a provision regarding boycotting. The Utah legislature this year made new restrictions. They've all signed the necessary boycotting provisions that promise they won't violate the Utah state statute on that. So that's been taken care of and added to the contract.
I move to approve the independent contract agreement with Better Destinations LLC at a cost of $150,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Winfield, second by Commissioner Hedin. Any further discussion?
Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous 5-0. Next item is an amendment to cooperative agreement between Utah State University and Grant County for implementation of business consulting services.
Again, this was discussed at our last meeting. We do have Justin Bergman from USU's CTE program based on Blanding, who oversees the San Juan and Grand County Business Technical Assistance Programming. Happy to answer any questions if you have those for Justin. The high level overview of this, as discussed previously, is that this is an agreement to contribute $100,000 to the sustainability of this program on top of an existing agreement to provide $300,000 to provide salary, operating costs, etc., to a business technical services, business consulting services, up at the Moab campus that would be exclusively serving Grand County. That person has been hired. Keegan Johnson, who is in the room with us today. Megan McFall was a big steward of this process as the business advisor down in San Juan County, covering Grand County. So Justin, Keegan, and Megan are all here today. So this would simply be adding an additional $100,000 for that program with relatively flexible guidelines so that that can have as much sustainability in its operation.
Okay. And again, this is something we discussed at the last meeting. Are there any changes to the contracts even we should be aware of?
Just, we had an original addendum copy, USU executed with identical language, in a different format, has the same terms. It's been added to your guys' packet. It does the exact same thing. So it just looks different. Yeah, that's it.
I'll make a
Trish?
motion. I move to approve the amendment to the cooperative agreement between Utah State University and Grand County for implementation of business consulting services.
And second, okay, so as motion by Commissioner Hedin, seconded by Commissioner McCurdy. Any further discussion? Looks like not. Looks like not, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously 5-0.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming all the way up for that.
Okay, the next one is grant contract with Red Tail Air for charter service to Salt Lake City. And that's still you, August, leading
Yep.
off. Okay.
As discussed at the last meeting, Red Tail Air is proposing to provide charter service from Moab to Salt Lake City and back for a year, twice a week, at an affordable rate. And since the last meeting, there was contract negotiations that took place that I'll let Stephen speak to.
When we had this meeting, or we had this item on for our last meeting, there was a question or conversation about adjusting the target price. They've agreed to have a round trip not to exceed $400. That's been added to the contract. There's some clarifications on where marketing would be done. It's going to be in traditional means, not necessarily on Instagram. It's going to use its own Facebook and Instagram to promote the service, not necessarily expend more than that. Also, we were going to note that the drop-off location is going to be to the South Valley Regional Airport, but for the onset of the original part, it's going to go to Salt Lake City International. Those were the changes that were made in the contract, and we reached out, tried to reach out. Mallory and I talked to Mike, and Mallory talked to everyone with the balance being billed to August. So it's the same amount of funds, it's the same aircraft. Nothing else has changed besides those three. Oh, and scheduling. Sorry, they've guaranteed one Tuesday will always be set for a round trip flight. The other they're going to look at adjusting or being flexible on setting that date. So originally, just noting for everybody's memory, originally it was 2 guaranteed days with the price cap going to Salt Lake City. And so those were the changes, and we reached out to commissioners and sought input. So if commissioners had questions, we could answer them. And I know Randy's here. He can correct me if I've misstated anything, but the agreement is drafted, ready to go, and it does have those changes.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I think August fairly well.
Okay, so it's just, I guess I do have, like, maybe some clarifying questions, and if it makes sense for Randy to answer them directly, that's fine. So the original proposal was for Salt Lake City International, and now it's gonna start out at SLC International, but later shift to the Valley Airport, is it?
Possibly shift later on. The South Valley Airport, the FBO there, the contract for that is going to come up later this year. And Red Tail is going to bid on that. If we're successful in that bid, we'll have a presence at that airport. And we thought it would be potentially better to fly the guests there, or because we'll have a presence there, we'll have employees there. If that makes sense. We will offer shuttle service to either the tracks or to SLC for passengers on our flight.
Oh, so that's a dedicated shuttle instead of someone calling for an
Yes.
Uber?
Yes, it'll be our shuttle. It'll be the Red Tail shuttle.
I see.
You describe kind of the current setup with if you're flying into the FBO of anything at the SLC International.
Yeah, so our original proposal, and which will be using, until such time as we get the FBO in South Valley Airport. We fly into Atlantic Aviation. We'd love to fly into the terminal at SLC, but gate availability at SLC is almost impossible with Delta's presence at that airport. Plus, even if we did get a gate, it's incredibly expensive. We'd have to charge $1,000 a seat, let's say, to be able to pay that gate fee at the terminal. So we propose flying into Atlantic Aviation. It's about a 5-minute drive from Atlantic Aviation to the front door of SLC, the main terminal. The advantage with Atlantic Aviation, we currently fly into Atlantic Aviation. All of our charters fly into Atlantic Aviation, and we have an exclusive contract with Rocky Mountaineer. We fly their guests into Atlantic Aviation. The cool thing there is, I don't know if you guys have been to the airport recently. If you land and you're at gate 99, for example, I mean, it's going to be a 15-minute walk, and there's no people movers yet at SLC. So it's a long walk from gate 99 all the way to to get your baggage and out the door. The advantage with Atlantic Aviation is you get off the plane and it's a 2-minute walk. Up on the ramp through the front, through the back door, to the front door, and there's your Uber or Lyft or whatever waiting for you. So it's very, very convenient for our guests. We've seen it's very, very convenient for them.
Yes, I think to follow up to that, if you're flying direct to Salt Lake, you're not going through TSA on the front end or the back end.
Correct.
And if you're connecting, you would have to go through TSA when you are you're shuttling from the FBO to the main airport. Correct. TSA going to make you connect.
Correct. Yes, because we're not going to the main terminal. You don't have to go through TSA at CNY.
Okay, so in some ways similar to when Paradise was flying to the general aviation side of SLC International.
Right. Paradise for
Boutique, that's what I meant. Sorry, I meant boutique. Yeah. Sorry.
Paradise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we agreed to keep it, we talked about the rate thing last time. We agreed to cap it at $400. This gives it a little flexibility should aviation fuel really spike up. There's an article just this weekend that I read on CNBC about the potential for aviation fuel or oil prices in general going up because of the uncertainty happening in Russia right now. So it just gives us a little bit of protection on that.
Target price still being $300.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? No. I'd entertain a motion then.
I'll make the motion. I move to approve the grant contract with Red Tail Air for the purposes of supporting the development of charter air transit service to Salt Lake City.
Okay, so that was motion by Bill and second by Mike. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0 unanimous. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're excited to be flying our residents up to Salt Lake City for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, next item is memorandum of understanding with the Southeastern Utah Economic Development District to establish a Grand County revolving loan fund.
Again, as discussed at the last several county commission meetings, this would be a one-time contribution to an existing revolving loan fund program that the Association of Government runs through their legal body of the Southeast Utah Economic Development District. This allows us to basically contribute a minimum of $400,000. And then if in August, when we get the complete TRT receipts for June and July, May and June, and it looks like there's actually more money that was available for economic participation funds, then that balance can be contributed towards this program at that time.
Okay.
And then the only other addition we have, last time, we didn't have it ready to go because we didn't have what they were gonna charge for us, and they're gonna do a $55 per hour for the program manager. And so when they're managing our portions of the revolving loan fund, it's not a percentage, but it's an hourly charge.
Okay.
And that will come out of the funds that they generate from the interest that people are paying on the loans.
Thanks.
I sit on that board. I don't mind making the motion, but I wonder if it wouldn't be better.
Gotcha.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding to authorize a contribution of a minimum of $400,000 to the Southeast Utah Economic Development District to manage a Grand County specific revolving loan fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so motion by Mike and second by Trish. And like, in case anyone's watching and wondering why this is all going so quickly, these are all things that we discussed at the previous meeting, but just the contracts weren't quite ready to sign. So it's a formality. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's 5-0. Next up is independent contractor agreement for managing public defender. Mallory?
Yes, I spoke about this a little bit at our last meeting. We went ahead and put out an RFP to see about any interest, and we did receive one submission. Myself, Dana and Quinn met yesterday and reviewed that submission, including contacting references that were provided, and stellar feedback that if somebody were to start this in our county and kind of provide that oversight, not necessarily oversight, but assistance to the program and really be dedicated to an independent office, this would be a great individual to do it. So that is what is in front of you today. I broke down the budget amount of 2023, 2024, more tied to the Indigent Defense Commission grant because they run off of the state fiscal year.
Okay. Any questions?
I move to approve the independent contractor agreement for the managing public defender.
A motion by Bill, seconded by Mike. Further discussion. Melody, do you just want to remind people about what a managing public defender is? How this fits into?
Yes, so this position will kind of oversee all of our contracts, including our secondary conflict roster. And that's really important because this position is an odd structure. Utah has a unique program or process where the counties are actually responsible entirely for funding that, whereas most other states do not do it that way. And this is just intended to help us with making it standalone, the ability for them to function. Of course, the system all ties together, but this individual will be coming to you all with their budget request. They'll be able to function and see, track, know a system that they know versus right now. Invoices, for example, go sometimes directly to the clerk auditor's office, sometimes to me. I think sometimes to some staff in Stephen's office. So it's just getting it on one page, and then also ensuring things like clients are met with ideally in person ahead of time, that they're getting the quality representation, that the courts are getting what they need. And then this individual would also be tracking all of the defense resource spending, various things that we can get reimbursement, complete reimbursement from the state for. And yeah, they're kind of, I would say, more of a director, program director.
And just to add, so this not only does it help manage all of the back end or the parts that we get to see as the commission and counsel for the commission, it's the day-to-day when you have somebody appear in court and they need an attorney. This helps have another person that can be assigned to the cases. Right now, we basically have 6 different attorneys that are doing revolving appointments, and that's an hourly charge to the county. And it's really not, it's very difficult to budget for it, to know what they're going to charge. You don't know what their expenses are. And this will set 2 individuals for the county now with Mr. Alamia. And with this contract you'd have. And well, those 2 individuals in the district court, and then Autumn Fitzgerald, who's in the parental defender court, it'll give the county a savings in the long run because you won't have those hourly charges, and you'll have more individuals being assisted by those 2 indigent defense counsel. So it's a really good thing.
Okay. Further discussion? And I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous 5-0. So all that's left on the agenda is the consent agenda. There's only one item, so I'll just treat it like a regular agenda item. It's for the ratification of chair signature on forestry fire and state lands cooperative agreement. Who wants to speak to this one?
I can speak to it. The forestry department contacted me. I'm on that, I forget the name of it. It's from the governor's office board on interagency fire. And so it's an agreement that basically treats the state as an insurance policy on the fires that happen within the county. If we don't have that agreement, the county then becomes liable for any costs. If the fire starts on private property or county property and then moves on to other BLM or anybody else's property, then the state fights that fire in our defense. And there's a fee that's based off of, and the fee's not fixed. It's very complicated. It's based off of an 8-year average. And so there's ways for us to even reduce our fee for that insurance policy, basically is what this is. If we do mitigation work, if we do training and preparedness. So that's why that number, and Chris Baird might even be able to speak to it, it can adjust up or down depending on what we're doing to help mitigate fire damage around the county. So this is just to keep that policy intact with the signature here so that we don't lose that.
So this is something we had signed before and then the old agreement lapsed and now we need to renew it.
Exactly. And for whatever reason, they were very late in getting it to us. And of course, it put Mr. Stocks on the spot to move it through fairly quickly, but he did so, and here we are.
Okay. Anything add to that, Stephen?
No, we made a phone call to Mr. Brewer, fire chief. I don't know his official title. We talked to him, made sure the county to the best of his knowledge, because I don't know all the ins and outs of the fire world or fire department world, made sure that we're in compliance with the contract. He assures me that we are. Everything else looked pretty standard. That was the due diligence on my end.
Good. Well, thank you, Bill and Stephen, for making this happen quickly. Someone want to move to approve the contract?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract with the state fire.
Okay,
Oh, second minute, yeah.
okay, so motion by Winfield, second by McCurdy. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. So if there's no objection, I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Passes.